according to different reports, Real Madrid is now blocking Carlo Ancelotti's move to Brazil. Originally, what was reported is that the Brazilian Federation sent 2 delegates to Seville to be able to meet with Carlo Ancelotti and to finalize the agreement. But now, apparently, Real Madrid has a dispute with Carlo Ancelotti, not only in terms of the salary and what Real Madrid is going to pay him, because he technically has a contract with Real Madrid until the summer of 2026. But Carlo Ancelotti wants to be paid at that full amount since there's going to be a termination of his contract. There seems to be a dispute about that, and the fact that Real Madrid wants Carlo Ancelotti to stick around until after the FIFA World Club Cup, which to me feels a little bit unfair. Look, I want a new manager at Real Madrid next season. We all agree. I shouldn't say we all. I think the majority of the fan base agrees that it shouldn't be Carlo Ancelotti next season. But let's just give the guy whatever he wants. Let him manage the team for the rest of the next 5-6 games, and then let him have a send-off. But why are we blocking his move to wherever he wants to go? If he wants to go to Brazil, let him go to Brazil. The guy's brought us 3 Champions Leagues. You're not going to tell me this is a situation where it's about money. Real Madrid was the most profitable football club in the world last season. And this is according to Forbes. Since the renovation of the Bernabeu, we're bringing in so much money. So you're telling me Real Madrid can't just let Carlo Ancelotti go wherever he wants to go just because you want to keep him around until the end of the World Club Cup? You can't appoint an interim manager and just allow him to leave before June because that's when Brazil wants him. But now I'm seeing reports of Carlo Ancelotti being offered big money from Saudi Arabia. Obviously, Saudi Arabia can pay money that Brazil can never come close to because it's backed by the state. They have an incredible amount of money. Personally, as a person who's a huge fan of football, I grew up loving watching Brazil. The original Ronaldo, Roberto Carlos, Bebeto, Rivaldo. Those guys made you fall in love with football. And it pains me as a football fan to see Brazil not do well. Everybody knows what Joga Bonito means. Brazil deserves to have one of the best managers in the world. So why is Real Madrid standing in the way of this? Personally, I would love to see Brazil play beautiful football again. This can't be a situation where it's about money, because Real Madrid has the money. But you wouldn't think that if you've seen the way Real Madrid has been operating recently. Dean Huijsen, apparently his release clause is 58 million euros, and Real Madrid is reluctant to pay that. Now explain this to me, Real Madrid. You clearly need to sign a center back. No shade on Raul Asensio. I love Raul Asensio. He's a great player. He's clearly a Real Madrid caliber player. He's clearly very good center back, but still very raw. Think back to the days of Sergio Ramos and Varane. Real Madrid should have the 2 best center backs in the world playing together. You can't just put all your eggs in one basket with Rudiger. Asensio almost cost us that cup final. Look, that could happen to anybody, but that's some poor instinct. The kid's still kind of raw. He's young. He has a high ceiling. He can still get better. But in terms of like the most elite center back in the world, those are the kind of people we should have playing at Real Madrid. I've seen reports recently of us being linked with William Saliba. Of course, he just signed a new contract extension at Arsenal. Is Real Madrid really going to dish out 100 million euros or whatever else Arsenal is going to ask for a player like that? On top of that, pay him the same wage that Arsenal is paying him? I don't doubt that Saliba would want to come play for Real Madrid, play with his fellow Frenchman Kylian Mbappe. But Real Madrid needs to start spending some money in the transfer market. Now, I'm not an Alphonso Davies fan by any stretch of the imagination. I didn't want him at Real Madrid. But he was a free agent and Real Madrid refused to pay him a salary that he asked for, and so he renewed with Bayern Munich. Obviously, he just had that ACL tear. In many ways, we kind of lucked out. I mean, I hope he gets better. Obviously, I don't wish bad upon anybody. But one of the last things I want to talk about before I move on is Luka Modric. Luka Modric, obviously, him and Arda come in, and they changed the game for us in the Copa del Rey final. Luka Modric clearly still has it, even at his age, which is incredible because on the ball you see the quality that he has. Even though he lacks the physicality, still his quality, the guy's on another level. And Luka Modric deserves a proper send-off. If for whatever reason the club is not going to renew his contract, you need to let the fan base know that. This is a guy who's been at the club for more than 10 years. This guy's a leader at this football club. But you know that you need to make some difficult decisions this summer. Ferland Mendy is now reportedly out for another 2 months. Camavinga is going to be out for a while. Rudiger just had a knee surgery. You know you have to get rid of some players. Players like David Alaba, who's earning an egregious amount of money, and he's really never going to be the same again. I don't know what you do with the Lucas Vazquez contract renewal. To be fair, Lucas Vazquez is not a right back. Maybe if Xabi Alonso comes in over the summer, he can deploy him in his three in the back system as a right wing back. And so I have no problem renewing a guy with Lucas Vazquez as long as he's a squad player. Because we'll have Danny Carvajal coming back soon, hopefully. The Trent deal looks like it's finalized. So having another guy like Lucas Vazquez off the bench is not a bad option, especially when you're playing 70, 80 games a season. But you know you need to sign a center back. You know you need a left back. Even though I think Fran Garcia, if you watch that Copa del Rey final, he started off very poorly, but he grew into the game. Because what does it tell you when Carlo Ancelotti starts Ferland Mendy over you, and you come off the bench because the manager chose to play somebody who's injured, who hasn't played in like a month and a half over you, and you've been fit? That's going to mess with my head too. But one of the things that we all learned from that game is that Arda Guler needs to be playing more minutes. That kid is truly special. That is a guy that is extremely talented but has hardly played any minutes this season. The last two games that we've seen of Arda, he has really looked like a generational talent, which makes me question, why has it taken this long for us to see this guy? Coming off the bench, the amount of quality that this guy has, I just think to myself, in those 5-a-sides that they have in training, Arda is definitely one of the best players in those 5-a-sides. Carlo Ancelotti sees this guy day in and day out in training. So why are you not playing this guy? What am I missing? He doesn't have the physicality of a Fede, of course, but his quality on the ball, you're lacking that right now in your team. And this kid is sometimes sitting on the bench for weeks and not even playing a minute. Now, I'll just wrap up really by talking about what's next for Real Madrid, because according to Marca, Real Madrid contacted Jurgen Klopp, but there's been silence. I've not heard anything about Jurgen Klopp. It doesn't look like that's going to happen. It looks more than likely that we're going to get Xabi Alonso for next season. Bayer Leverkusen's sporting director came out and said that they have some sort of gentleman's agreement with Xabi Alonso that if one of his former clubs came for him, that they would let him go. Originally, there were reports that Real Madrid was going to have to pay Bayer Leverkusen to break him out of his contract, but that doesn't seem to be the case anymore, which is obviously really good news for Real Madrid. Now, I said this in a previous video, which is I really love Xabi Alonso as the next manager of Real Madrid. This is a guy who played under Jose Mourinho, Pep Guardiola, Carlo Ancelotti, Rafa Benitez. This is a guy who played in Spain, in Germany, in England. But more importantly, the Bayer Leverkusen team has exactly what Real Madrid needs, which is structure. And one of the things that I love so much about Bayer Leverkusen, they're averaging over 62% possession against their opponents. That is one of the highest across Europe. They have a distinct playing philosophy. They do like to play a 5-3-2-1, which is a little different than how Real Madrid plays. But under Xabi Alonso, Real Madrid will be a significantly stronger team next season. I have zero doubts about that. Having researched everything about Xabi Alonso and the way Bayer Leverkusen has been playing, just looking at the transformation of Bayer Leverkusen under Xabi Alonso, this is not a team that used to compete for the Bundesliga. This season, yeah, they're going to finish second, but just the fact that he's gotten these guys to play in a very distinct way, they did suffer a lot of injuries. He's lost a lot of players in his starting 11. That's also contributed to some of their draws and some of their losses. They drew 10 games this season. But give Xabi Alonso some of the best players in the world, and this guy, and I think Real Madrid is literally going to destroy Europe. Just watching the game today between PSG and Arsenal, and watching how both sides looked significantly more organized and play a lot better than Real Madrid. I'm just imagining with the quality of players that we have, with a guy like Xabi Alonso managing us, next season we're going to be the team to beat. I have no doubt about that. But one of the things that could be standing in Real Madrid's way for next season is not constructing the squad in a proper way. I'm seeing reports of Real Madrid looking at Florian Wirtz. Florian Wirtz is one of the best talents in Europe, no doubt. Manchester City's linked with him as well. But where are you going to fit Wirtz? He's a very similar profile player to a lot of the guys we have in our team currently. That's not the kind of guy you need. You do need more of a Zubamendi. Just look at PSG. They have a guy like Vitinha who checks into the ball. Arsenal has Partey and they have Jorginho doing that for them. Manchester City obviously have Rodri who does that for them. That's what Real Madrid needs. They need somebody who's going to play in those pockets, who's going to check into the ball. You're never going to find a like-for-like replacement for Toni Kroos, but you need somebody who's going to balance out our midfield, who's going to initiate the build-up. I'd be interested to see what Xabi Alonso is going to do with different players, because you may end up seeing that Xabi Alonso may not opt for that sort of solution. For example, he uses Xhaka a lot in his build-up. Xhaka checks into the ball, and I wonder if Xabi Alonso might do that with Camavinga. He might play him more. He might deploy him more in an 8. But one thing we can all agree on is that Carlo Ancelotti has taken this team as far as he could. We thank him for his service, but a new era will start for Real Madrid next season. Let me know if you guys agree. Are you guys as excited as me for Xabi Alonso to be the manager next season? Let me know. Thank you for watching, and Hala Madrid.